Andrew, let's start with the curve. So many of our viewers are interested in this. We're watching it, we're tracking it every day. The Chief Medical Officer very, very pleased with where we're heading, and he gave us a bit more of an indication as to when we might start seeing broad restrictions eased in terms of the numbers. Talk us through it.
Yes, he did, didn't he? He was basically saying he's after just under 20 new cases a day for the whole country over a series of weeks, and eventually, hopefully, when we start talk about eradication, 0 new cases a day for a few weeks. So if we can pull up the curve here, we'll show you. We've now done it in 3-day lots, which I think shows you how much it's decreased, because if you did it every day, you wouldn't be able to see that big peak there. That's when all the shutdowns really occurred. 23rd of March, I think, was the pubs from memory. Then a bit further on, you've got that ban on overseas travel and quarantining of those coming from overseas, and all the rest, and extreme social distancing about a week later, and then it just goes bang, down it goes. So it's very good news. Very good to hear from Matt Cunningham too there, Kieran, that businesses all up in the Northern Territory as of June are looking to open. That's phenomenal news. And why wouldn't places like WA or the Northern Territory who've closed their borders look to do that sort of thing? They've got their own problems coming, of course, down the track perhaps, whether to just keep those borders closed for how long. You talk about the Trans-Tasman bubble. One wonders if that would include the Northern Territory and WA, given the restrictions working so well for them, and you might still have cases in New South Wales and Victoria. And it is interesting, the difference in language between the New South Wales and Victorian premiers and the federal authorities, and Brendan Murphy and Scott Morrison, who seem a bit more optimistic about beating this thing, it seems to me. Gladys Berejiklian, and you heard her earlier in the package there, she just said on Ben Fordham on 2GB, that show, that we had to accept that loosening restrictions, you would see more people go to hospital. So that's a pretty sobering message. A lot of pessimism from Berejiklian really about a second wave. Anyway, let's hear what Brendan Murphy said about loosening restrictions earlier.
If the current trend stays as we are now, with sort of 20 or fewer cases a day, and very few of them being those community cases without an epidemiology link, that would put us in a very strong position. An even better position would be no cases in 2 weeks.
One thing he did say, though, is that we've got to change on a permanent basis how we engage with others. I think that would have happened anyway, Andrew. We start to see the number of flu cases, measles, all of these diseases dropping dramatically at the moment because people, quite simply, are more aware of their hygiene.
That's absolutely right. And it's clear, I think, having this sort of shutdown for so many weeks has given us the message on social distancing. I think we'll be staying with that. The next big battle, as you know, Kieran, I think we'll see community sport get through. We'll see the NRL start up. We'll see a staged return to schools. In New South Wales, certainly. WA, certainly, although they're having an issue with the teachers' union. And Queensland, I think, will come to something in mid-May. And even Daniel Andrews in Victoria might do something in mid-May. It might be Queensland students go alternative weeks, but that's what we can look forward to. But the next battles are schools and hospitality, really. And schools, from this point of view, if you want more people to go back to the workplace and get the economy going, their kids need to be in school. Otherwise, that's kind of hard to achieve. And with hospitality, with social distancing, I know there are people at the government levels fighting for that, but there's some resistance from the health officials about that going forward. But look, overall, I think you couldn't be happier. And as someone said to me recently, one of the officials, isn't it great that Australia has a choice on when the restrictions are lifted? So many of these other countries just don't have a choice. They have to go hard shutdown and leave it in place for some time. So we might be impatient, but 2 weeks to go, hopefully, before some of these things are lifted.